The other day I had the experience of eating something I love, chocolate cake. But I truly tasted only the very first bite, because fairly soon after that I commented upon how wonderful the cake was, and then I got into all kinds of conversations, interesting conversations with the people at the table with me. Meanwhile, I was eating on automatic. It was considerably later when I returned to the experience of the chocolate cake, to the eating, and then I realized that I hadn't tasted just about the whole cake. I had only tasted the first bite. And worse than that, I ate the whole thing, including the whipped cream and the icing, which meant that I felt vaguely sick, just a little bit. All that was happening because I was in what you might call the everyday mind. And the everyday mind doesn't hold attention very well. Instead, it scans, it looks at this picture or that person, or expects to find something in that direction or this direction. This mind is not very well fitted for truly enjoying the taste of chocolate cake. That means for most of us, we don't spend enough time hanging out in the eating experience. We very quickly leave it. And so after a millisecond of pleasure, we're off onto some other activity. And again, the rest of the experience, the rest of the eating goes unnoticed. Again, it's on automatic. The ordinary mind, this everyday mind that I talk about, is also a discriminating, judging instrument. So fairly soon after being in contact with a chocolate cake, our internal experience is that we start to judge ourselves for eating the chocolate cake. We shouldn't eat this chocolate cake. You know it's not good for you. After all, it has all these calories and it's very rich in fat. And we could then go on and blame ourselves. What's the matter with you? Why can't you have the willpower not to eat something like this? And of course, with all that activity in the mind, the experience of eating, the pleasure of eating, goes unnoticed. There is another way to eat, and that is to eat mindfully. Mindfulness actually changes the way you experience eating, perhaps eating chocolate cake. Soaking into each bite, you can taste the texture, you can experience the texture of the food. Is this a crumbly experience, or is it smooth and buttery? You experience the subtle hint of, let's say, an almond flavor or an orange flavor to the chocolate cake. And beyond that, mindfulness allows you to experience the journey that that bite of chocolate cake takes as it moves from your mouth into your esophagus, down further until you lose contact with it. But something is happening at the same time if you're mindful of it. And that is, you begin to experience the pleasure, that feeling of starting to be filled with something that tastes good. It comes with a real deep satisfaction. And mindfulness doesn't count calories. It's not interested in good or bad or numbers. It's just interested in the flavor, the experience of the flavor, the experience of the food. That means we eat less, we do eat less, and we feel more filled up. Now, you can't use mindfulness all the time, every time you eat. We live in a complicated world, there's a lot going on. However, if you practice mindfulness in eating some of the time, it's likely you're going to get to know the experience somewhere in the abdomen, somewhere in the stomach. That experience of starting to feel filled, enjoying the satisfaction. Then, whenever you're eating, it's likely some awareness will be in that place. And you'll be able to have that wonderful, delicious experience of food. Now, I'm not saying this happens all the time. Sometimes craving takes hold and anything else leaves us. But it could be true that you're using it much of the time. And that will affect the nature of your eating. As Joseph Campbell said, it's not so much the meaning of life that we seek, it's the experience of being alive. It isn't how much chocolate cake you eat or don't eat. It's the experience of being alive to the chocolate cake. That's another kind of being filled up.